Batman Returns. Welcome back to my series of reviews, which is just a very limited series. I saw Batman Returns very recently once again. I'll talk more about that in a second, but this once again brings back Tim Burton, and once again we have Michael Keaton, and we have some new characters this time. Characters like the Penguin, played by Danny DeVito, and Catwoman, played by Michelle Pfeiffer. And this film takes place a little bit after the end of the first movie, where there's a new threat by the name of Penguin, and he's coming into the city after having a very mysterious past. Nobody really knows where he's from or who he is or what he is exactly. And the film goes into it as it proceeds. We have a little intro in the first 5 minutes that he is Oswald Cobblepot, and he was born with certain defects that made him undesirable to his parents. And so his parents, in the very opening scene of the movie, decide to put him inside a little cage, like a feral animal of sorts, while they keep living their very rich, very wealthy life. And then finally, they've had enough of him and they throw him into the river, and that's the last they ever see of him. And so he lands up in a place inside Gotham Zoo where he is now surrounded by penguins, and he grows up within that space along with those penguins, which is what makes him who he is. And Selena Kyle plays a receptionist who works at this place called Shrek Industries, which is run by a man named Max Shrek, played by Christopher Walken. And when she finds out certain things about how Shrek is dealing with businesses and the kind of deals that Max is making, Max decides to do a very rational thing, as many people would do, and throws her out of a window, killing her. You know, that's because that's what you do. What a great decision. But she comes back to life, and she's brought back by several cats giving her this kiss of life of sorts. And she comes back a completely different person, not entirely sure how she is or who she is and what's going on anymore. And she's taken on the persona of Catwoman. We'll talk more about her and the Penguin in a bit, but I still want to talk about the first time I saw this movie, because I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I didn't like this movie when I saw it the first time. Much like the first Batman was so different for people when they first saw it, and it was a little tonally different from Adam West series, this film took that a notch further because Tim Burton decided, yeah, if that movie was dark and bittersweet at times, we're gonna make this movie exactly that. While the first Batman movie was like a crime film and you had the Joker going around vandalizing places and doing all of his evil schemes, this one's more of a tragedy because it doesn't focus essentially on the character of Batman or the villains. It does in a way, but it's not about them carrying out evil schemes. It's more about their characters and how their pasts have made them what they are and how it continues to influence them. And so in that way, a lot of the film goes into Selena Kyle's character and the sense of unfinished quality to her and to everybody in this movie. Bruce Wayne in this movie is a lot more vulnerable, and I think that this is one of the things where the film improves on in relation to the first one, is that Michael Keaton kind of just gets back into it like putting on a glove. He just is into this character all of a sudden, and you can suddenly look at him, and this is the point where you can look at him and say, that's Batman and that's Bruce Wayne. That's exactly what I want, because he nails this performance. He's excellent in this film. He was excellent in the first one. He's even better over here. And those are things I liked the first time I saw the film. Aside from that, I didn't know what to make of it. And watching it again very recently, now that I have done all this stuff and I have analyzed some movies, I thought to myself after watching it, oh my god, I think that's one of the best superhero movies ever made. This is a fantastic film. And it really does rank up there with some of the greatest superhero movies. There are so many good things in this film. Like I said, the characters is one thing. But even then, the way it tells the story, the way it makes you care more about the people outside the mask than within is impressive. I really love what they were able to do, which actually leads me to one of my favorite aspects of the film, which is the relationship between Bruce and Selena. In the comic books and in any Batman-related media, they have a very weird romantic relationship. See, they're not in love with each other, but the thing is, they're both so crazy and in so many ways similar in the way they think and the way their pasts have shaped who they are, that they somehow form a bond. And when you're watching the film, this one or the animated series or heck, I'm gonna say it, even The Dark Knight Rises, you can tell that there is this strangeness to their relationship. Like you're thinking they don't have to be together, but at the same time, there's just something that's connecting the two so well. There's a beautiful scene in this movie where they're at this gala and they're having a dance, and they slowly through this dance figure out who each of them are. And the moment they recognize that, Selena has this tear in her eye and she's like, oh my god, do we have to start fighting now? Let's talk about Danny DeVito as the Penguin. When this movie first came out, he was actually nominated for a Worst Supporting Actor Razzie Award. I don't know who thought that that was a good idea. I don't know why people thought his performance was that bad, because it's over the top, but it needs to be over the top. It's not the kind of over the top for the sake of it. If you've ever picked up a comic book of Batman or ever played any of the new Arkham games, you really think Penguin is subtle? That guy is loud. That guy is over the top almost every single second. Even in the show Gotham, which is on right now, the person playing Penguin, who's excellent as Penguin, by the way, same thing. He's over the top. He yells a lot. He has a lot of these wide-eyed, wide open-mouthed expressions for a lot of the show, and that really works with the character of Penguin. So I really don't understand why, if somebody had a problem with him being over the top, that's a problem. That's exactly how he's supposed to be. So yeah, and he is definitely over the top. I keep saying that over and over again, but he is really good at this. He plays the Penguin to a T. In fact, I bought him as the Penguin. He's disgusting, he's gross, just like the actual Penguin, and he nailed this performance.
Admiring your handiwork?
Touring the riot scene. Gravely assessing the devastation. Upstanding mayor stuff.
You're not the mayor.
Things change.
What do you want?
Ah, the direct approach. I admire that in a man with a mask. You don't really think you'll win, do you?
Things change.
Another thing in this movie that I think is an improvement over the last one is Danny Elfman's score. I think this is one of his better scores for a superhero film. I think he managed to do something very great here with Catwoman's theme and the way he built up her character. I keep going back to Catwoman because she's such an integral part of this movie, and she is a lot of this film's reason of existence. And I love what they were able to do. When she's first introduced, after she comes back to life, it has one of the best visual storytelling superhero scenes I've ever seen. Selena walks into the apartment and she's listening to the voicemails on her phone. She presses it, she's like, you have 3 new voicemails. And it starts playing out the voicemails. And they're almost identical to the voicemails that she got in the first scene. And it kind of makes you realize that this is a routine. Her life is exactly the same. It keeps going the same way. It's always the same cogs turning. And then she finally comes to this one, and this is like a very service message, and she finally just cracks, yells, and just smashes the machine and lays waste to a ton of things in her apartment. There's a sign, a neon sign on the wall behind her that says hello there. And in the film's kind of on the nose but also perfect at the same time moment, she smashes the O and the first T of hello there to make it hell here. It works for someone like Catwoman. I love that. I loved it. And I love her way of then just coming out and you see her in costume, silhouette form. And it's like, yep, that's Catwoman. There you go. That's perfect. I don't ask for anything more, nothing less. You can tell there was a bigger budget to work on in this one because there's more stunts, there's less of the wire work. It's not as slow moving with Batman's gliding around as the first one was. This one really upped the ante on several things, and I really thought it was very good that way. This film also takes certain risks. Like, for example, Batman is not able to save the damsel in distress in one of the scenes, and she falls to her death, which is actually kind of crazy, and it's one of the few times in movies where that's happened. She's not a main character, but she still falls to her death. And so that was also very gutsy in a way. Now, regarding the ending, people have had issues with that. The way this film wraps up is very bittersweet. It's not a happy ending, to say the least, because Selina Kyle is presumed dead after the explosion at the zoo. Batman heads out, he gets out of there somehow with his mask off. Bruce and Selina have this confession of, we can live a life together, but she is unable to do that, and she sacrifices one of her lives in order to kill Shrek. And Penguin also dies, and he is buried within the waters with the penguins. It's actually quite a moving moment, and it wraps up things in a way that's not exactly happy. But the film ends on a slightly hopeful note when Bruce finds the cat, the black cat that Selina had, in an alley. And then the signal comes on and you see Catwoman get up. It's like, oh, okay, so that can happen. Too bad they didn't make a third one to it. Well, they did. We'll talk more about that movie later, but not like this one. Now, I can talk more and more about Batman Returns. I can talk about the fact that it's beautifully directed. I've already spoken in length about the characters. I think they're done beautifully, and I love the way that they're handled. It's just such a well-written film. It's much better written than the first one. I love the fact that they used Penguin's mayor campaign scenario to a very good extent to kind of explore how manipulative Max Schreck can be and how Penguin can just play along with it to try and get his image back in Gotham after being after resurfacing from the hell that he was in for all his life. And I love what this film was able to accomplish. Batman Returns is one of the best superhero movies ever made, and I do genuinely believe that, and it definitely deserves every kind of praise it can get. I'm gonna give Batman Returns a 10 out of 10. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Look forward to Batman Forever's review next week. That's gonna be fun. It's not gonna be as good as this one, maybe. We'll see. You guys are the best as always. If you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.